Imagine for a second the absolute ultimate stakes of a global humanitarian crisis. We're talking about incredibly vulnerable populations, especially kids, caught right in the crosshairs of severe climate disasters, escalating regional conflicts, and sudden disease outbreaks. Now, historically, the global response has been this incredible force for good, right? But what if we didn't actually have to wait for the disaster to fully strike before mobilizing? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving deep into a highly ambitious 50-point executive framework known as Deep Reach, designed for massive organizations like UNICEF. It's a complete blueprint outlining exactly how artificial intelligence and deep learning could just totally rewire how we protect the world's most vulnerable children.
So, let's tackle this really provocative question right out of the gate. Can AI actually predict a humanitarian crisis before it happens? I mean, for decades, the humanitarian sector has been desperately trying to figure this out, often finding itself just one agonizing step behind the chaos. But the source material we're looking at today proposes a massive fundamental shift. It suggests that, yeah, with the right mix of advanced data science, sheer computational power, and super strict human oversight, the answer is yes. Deep learning could absolutely revolutionize this space by acting as a highly sophisticated preventative institutional radar system. It essentially gives us the ultimate gift: time.
And that brings us to this quote, which honestly establishes the core operational mantra of the entire 50-point blueprint. The document hammers this home over and over again throughout its pages. Prediction without action is of limited humanitarian value. Think about that for a second. An incredibly accurate famine forecast that looks 6 months into the future. It means absolutely nothing if it's just a fascinating data point sitting on a dashboard in a headquarters somewhere. The real magic, the actual real-world value, relies entirely on how tightly that specific prediction is linked to a pre-positioned, actionable, rapid response on the ground before the starvation actually begins.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to hit 5 main points. Number 1, seeing crises before they happen. Number 2, inside the Deep Reach framework itself. 3, predicting risks and moving supplies. 4, the ethics of child protection. And finally, number 5, governance, strategy, and real impact.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1. Seeing crises before they happen. Predict before impact.
The contrast here between the old and the new models is just striking. The old model inherently forces organizations to react to a crisis only after it's fully unfolded, scrambling to respond after vital roads are already washed out by floods or after families are already displaced by violence. The Deep Reach model completely flips that script. It uses sophisticated predictive models to anticipate those exact crises weeks or even months in advance. And that vital window of time is a total game changer. It allows organizations to adapt programs and physically preposition life-saving supplies right where they'll be needed, right before the shock actually hits the community.
Moving right along to Section 2, inside the Deep Reach framework, operational architecture.
I really want to unpack this acronym directly from the text so we know exactly what we're dealing with. Deep Reach stands for Deep Learning for Early Emergency Prediction, Response, Equity, Access, and Child Health. Now, the framework makes it super clear that this isn't just a single piece of software or some sleek dashboard you can just buy off the shelf from a tech company. Not at all. It's a deeply integrated cross-functional capability. It demands that cutting-edge technical expertise from data scientists gets blended seamlessly with the hard-earned, boots-on-the-ground domain knowledge of seasoned humanitarian workers. And here is where the true innovation lies. It fuses these 3 previously siloed practices together. Historically, early warning systems run by analysts, child protection managed by social workers, and huge supply chain logistics operated by dispatchers, they all just lived in their own separate lanes. They almost never spoke the same data language. But Deep Reach unifies the whole shebang into one shared infrastructure. So practically speaking, the person monitoring conflict risks in a specific region is looking at the exact same integrated reality as the person dispatching vaccines and the social worker actively managing vulnerable families in that very same area.
Let's dive into Section 3, predicting risks and moving supplies.
By pulling together satellite imagery, open-source signals from social media, and real-time epidemiological surveillance, this system creates this composite, multi-source risk score. And the text notes this is way more robust than relying on just one single data stream alone. For instance, maybe satellite data shows failing crop yields, while open-source intel catches local social media chatter about skyrocketing food prices, and at the exact same time, health data flags a sudden spike in severe malnutrition at local clinics. When you connect all those dots, that is exactly how the AI spots the early, undeniable tremors of a disaster, a localized disease outbreak or creeping famine, way before it hits global headlines.
So how does this digital intelligence actually translate into the physical world? Well, it happens in 3 key steps. Step 1. The AI forecasts the precise demand for emergency supplies based on those composite risk scores we just talked about. Step 2. In incredibly complex, access-constrained settings, think flooded, deteriorating roads, or active conflict zones, the AI helps optimize those vital last-mile delivery routes. And Step 3, the actual humanitarian stockpiles, whether that's sensitive vaccines that need cold chain logistics or thousands of packets of therapeutic food, are physically pre-positioned in safe zones right next to the predicted impact area. The predicted human need and the physical supplies move in absolute lockstep.
Now for Section 4, the ethics of child protection, profound human stakes.
We have to remember, we aren't just optimizing warehouse inventory here. We are talking about actual human lives. This is exactly why the source document spends so much time on ethics. When we weigh false positives against false negatives in child protection, it becomes clear that data errors aren't just minor computer glitches. A false positive from an AI model could trigger an inappropriate, highly stigmatizing intervention into a family's life, causing real trauma. But on the flip side, a false negative is equally terrifying. That means the system says everything is fine and a genuinely at-risk child completely slips through the cracks. The framework insists that organizations constantly hold these 2 massive risks in tension,
which builds an undeniable case for the human-in-the-loop safeguard. Just look at these predictive targets: child recruitment into armed groups, human trafficking along dangerous migration routes, family separation during mass displacement. The stakes literally do not get higher than this. Because of that, the framework mandates that AI must never, ever be used for automated decision-making in these highly sensitive areas. Instead, the AI serves purely to prioritize human-supervised case triage. It's designed to trigger defensible human judgment. The goal is to ensure that experienced, empathetic child protection workers are empowered and guided by the data rather than being replaced by it.
Okay, our final section, number 5, governance, strategy, and real impact, executing the strategy.
Implementing a system this powerful across a sprawling global organization requires a highly methodical, deeply phased work plan. You just can't flip a switch on a predictive AI network. It starts with structured scoping and diagnosing exactly what gaps exist right now. Then, it moves into rigorous technical consultation across dozens of different field offices, undergoes intense formal ethical reviews by independent boards, and finally enters a highly supported dissemination phase. This deliberate, step-by-step pacing significantly cuts down the risk of costly implementation failures and ensures that local field offices actually trust and adopt the practice.
Building a credible deep learning capability demands sustained, long-term investment in organizational governance. We're talking dedicated oversight from an executive steering committee to keep everything on track. It demands rigorous data privacy and bias mitigation safeguards built in from the ground up, not just slapped on later as an afterthought. Plus, none of this groundbreaking tech works unless you build actual field-level capacity through continuous e-learning. Local staff have to know how to accurately interpret these AI predictions. And naturally, it requires locking in strategic, long-term partnerships with tech companies, academia, and donors to sustain the massive infrastructure required.
Which brings us to the ultimate question stemming from everything we've looked at today. As deep learning continues to rapidly evolve and become more accessible, how will we effectively balance the immense, life-saving power of AI anticipation with the profound ethical responsibility of human judgment? The DeepReach framework offers a highly compelling, comprehensive roadmap to get there. But the real test is going to be how humanity ultimately chooses to execute it in the unpredictable, chaotic reality of global crises. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.